everyone. Welcome back to Chasing Green Arrows. Today I have with me, as usual, Mr. Tariq Kredi, our fantasy expert. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. And also with us joining us is Mr. Yusuf Ismail. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me today.
Anytime, my pleasure. So it's been a long week, no playing around with the fantasy. I mean, you could play around with your fantasy team, but it's been a while since we've had a Premier League game week, and now we're heading into game week 9. Really excited. It's been 10 days without any fantasy, strategies and everything. So I said, let's just discuss what happened previously in game week 8 and going into game week 9. There's a lot of injuries, COVID issues. So I just wanted to see initially what your thoughts are. TK, I'll start with you. Mohamed Salah is tested positive for COVID. Hopefully he gets better, but Egypt confirmed today that even his second test was positive. So he's definitely not playing against Leicester City. So a lot of people are Salah. A lot of people own him in their fantasy team. So what is your advice initially, and what are you gonna do?
Looking at what's next few games, it's actually just opened up. Easy games have opened up for him. If you have him, I would keep him, put him on the bench. If you don't have him, I would. If you don't have him, then of course, don't get him. But it all depends on your team. Like it depends if you have a captain choice, because people who have Salah usually use him to captain. So if you have another captaincy choice that week, then you keep him on the bench. But if you don't, then you can sell him, get someone like Bruno Fernandez who has a good game, captain him, then bring back Salah.
Yeah, that's an option, like a quick swap.
I think the bigger issue is that everyone's injured and everyone has COVID.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. It's not that Salah has, it's like Salah plus like 10 other guys.
Yeah, that's the issue. So there's a lot of uncertainty, and but your thoughts on this? There's a lot of uncertainty. What is your strategies going into this week? Considering, I think you have Salah as well. So, but like Tariq said, there's a lot of uncertainty with other players as well. So, how would you go about it? Would you just wait on the game day before the deadline and make your move?
So, for the record, I'm a disciple of TK. I follow whatever he says over the years, and thanks to him, I finished the highest I did in my league last year. So, his advice has always been be patient. So I think I have Salah, but I also have Harry Kane. I have Son. So I think I can afford to bench him for a week and see what happens, and probably make Kane my captain. And I don't think the rest of my squad has any injury issues because I don't have any Liverpool defenders as well. So let me just check my squad. I think I'm just going to bench Salah, basically. That's my strategy for this week.
Ben Salah,
yeah.
The issue with that Kane and Son play Man City.
Ooh.
So
I have Werner also. I can do a really dangerous captaincy pick for Werner. So basically, I have Werner, Kane, Calvert-Lewin, Son, Grealish, and Salah. Those are my big hitters. So, what would you say?
The issue is when you come to captaincy, you don't that's why you have players like Salah or Mane or ABD or Sterling, or, those big hitters.
Yeah.
Kane as well, but he has a tough game. So when it comes to that, and you don't have any of those coming into this week, and you have to take a risk on Werner, that's when I think you can remove Salah, bring in someone like Mane, or bring in
Bruno
Fernandez, since he's on form. Captain him, and then either keep him or bring back Salah next week if he's fine.
Okay, that's a good shout.
Bruno Fernandez. Yeah. So, those are some good options there. Also, now, TK, if you want, if you can you share your screen with us so we can just look at last week's fixtures and going into this week's fixtures as well.
So last week feels like 1 year ago. I don't know why.
Seriously, right?
So long, man, since we changed our team. So, some surprising results there. So Bruno has finally scored, and TK, I think you've mentioned this all season that you need to stick to your players, be patient, and this is an example of that. Bruno hasn't done as much this season compared to the other players, compared to the likes of Son, Grealish as well to a certain extent. But we saw what he can do. He scored a couple of goals and assists as well, I think. So a lot of points for Bruno.
Yeah, the thing I've noticed with Bruno Fernandez is that he hasn't not returned in any of his away games. So every away game he's played since joining United, he's either got an assist or a goal,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Like he's for his away games, he's like that's such a crazy stat to have. Like you want this player to be on your team because he'll always return, very consistent. And this week he exploded, or last week I mean, with 2 goals and an assist. He could have got a hat trick.
Yeah.
You're a very good player to have on your team, and a lot of people I feel didn't have him because United weren't doing well.
Yeah.
They lost Spurs 6-1, and they lost in the Champions League, I think, to the Istanbul team. So United are like up and down, but people are forgetting that fantasy is not about the team; it's about the player. So if Bruno's doing well despite United doing bad, then you that's when you should get a player. But it was very hard to predict. People who had him, like, good for them.
Yeah, some good points there. And if you, Bhaiya, if you look at this United squad, they are very erratic. So would you, if you want to bank on somebody, probably Bruno's the best option, right?
Yeah, because I think Martial has had a very indifferent start to the season. He hasn't really shown up. Rashford has scored some goals, but again, like you said, inconsistent. Man United have been like they've lost 6-1, and then they've come back and won 2 in a row. Then they lose 2 in a row. So like TK said, Bruno is probably the only player that you would consider to have on the team, and he's had amazing results. I think last week, people who he scored 17 points. He had a goal and an assist, I think, and plus bonus points. So out of United assets, I think he's the best shout. And I think straight swap for Salah owners is a good idea. And then you can see next week how it goes, because like TK said, Salah's fixtures favor him. And he's not going to not score for like a period of 3-4 matches. So you could do like a mini, what's it called? When you can change your team for a week, free hit. Like you can do a mini free hit, just Bruno for this week, maybe even captaincy him if you want because of Tottenham's fixtures, and then bring back Salah next week.
Yeah, I have a gut feeling that TK is going to put Bruno or Werner as captain. I don't know, just last minute. But
I'm really just considering putting Vardy as my captain.
JB!
He's playing Liverpool away, which is a very tough match. But if you see this year, every away game he's gotten goals against City.
And plus Liverpool's defense. I mean, I think it's only Matip who's available, or like.
Yeah, he's the only senior defender available. Everyone else is injured.
Yeah.
But I think Robertson actually will play. And they're saying that he's injured and everything, but I think he's actually fine. We'll see, in a few days.
Yeah, I mean, with Liverpool, that's the thing, even Salah has COVID, and then they have a lot of the backline is injured, so it's a bit dicey with them. But if you look at Chelsea, TK, their chemistry is now building. They're looking strong. Some really good options, big hitters there. Werner, Ziyech as well, coming up with the assists. Havertz, when he comes back, I think he was also tested positive a couple of weeks ago. I think he'll be back soon. So they have a lot of options here, and Chelsea are looking good, man. They're playing Werner and Abraham together, so. There's a lot of options there for Chelsea.
Yeah, actually, I love Chelsea's team, and Werner and Abraham are playing mainly because of Havertz COVID. So because of Havertz having COVID, that's hard to say. They played Werner on the left and Abraham up front, and I noticed that Abraham is a very underrated pick. I don't know if he'll continue to play, but he's really been playing really well, and he's impressed Lampard to the point where I think that he's going to continue playing in that role, and Werner on the left, which is a very underrated pick. And if you're playing draft, a lot of people, I'm sure, did not pick Tammy Abraham, so you can go ahead and get it.
Guess who has him?
Who has it?
I have Abraham and Werner. I got.
Oh,
oh shoot! Oh,
in my draft team, So actually, Abraham was on my bench, but then I think Trossard or somebody didn't play, so I got his points as well. He scored. I didn't expect Abraham to start, so I didn't. I put him on my bench in my draft team, but he came like he started and he scored and Werner scored as well. So I had a field day in my draft last week.
Yes.
But yeah, so but yeah, even you have Warner. I think you picked him over Vardy if I'm not mistaken. So he's looking good. So are you gonna back him for a while now?
Warner, I had him at the beginning of the season, and he blanked for I think 3 or 4 game weeks, so I removed him. I brought him back recently 2 weeks ago because Chelsea started picking up form. And I think that has a lot to do with Hakim Ziyech. I think that's his name, Ziyech or Ziyech.
Yeah.
And he's been a key factor in Warner getting goals. So yeah, I would back him now for a few weeks and see how he performs, just because Chelsea as a team is doing well, and Warner, he hasn't hit his potential, man. The way he was playing in the Bundesliga, like he still hasn't reached that yet. So like, there is a lot of potential for him, and the striking options are also a bit short. Like you have Vardy, Warner, and Kane. That's like, I think that's TK's front three, and I think that's like the most powerful front three you can get, right? So I would stick with him because I have him. I was thinking of bringing in Bamford and boosting. So initially, before Salah got COVID,
Sorry,
I
who's
was
your third striker?
mine.
Yeah.
Warner, Calvert-Lewin, and Kane.
Yeah.
So what I was thinking before Salah got COVID was to boost my midfield, bring in Bamford for Warner, and because I think I have 2 frees, and then take out one of Foden. I think take out Foden and bring in Bruno. So I stacked my midfield and then had a decent front three, but I don't think with the COVID situation, I'm just going to bring in Bruno, captain him probably, and leave Warner and see what he does for another week. Take the patient option. Yeah, so I'll back him for a few weeks.
No, sounds good. I think he is looking in form, so that's a good option. Just last couple of points, last couple of teams I just want to touch upon. One is Southampton. They've been really impressive recently. TK, who are your most fancied options for Southampton? And the prices are good as well. So if they keep producing results like these, a couple of Southampton players won't hurt you for sure.
Definitely it was Ings, but he got injured. So, so for sure the 3 players I backed from Southampton are the goalie McCarthy, Kyle Walker-Peters, and Che Adams. He's been on form recently. Remember, I told you that he's gonna score next week. He scored. His stats are really good, and now he's the main man with Ings out. I'm sure he's gonna get a couple of goals.
You'll forget that at the beginning of the season, on TK's advice, I had Walker Peters and McCarthy in my team from game week 1, so he knew something was up. And Shea Adams actually, he was my game week 1. Yeah.
TK knows where it's at, and your boy Tariq Lamptey as well. You talked about him in game week 1 or 2, but now everyone has him.
Everyone in the world has him now.
Yeah, everyone in the world has him.
I kid you, he was. I think he was also man of the match in this game as well. He's been man of the match in every game.
You picked him because you found him. He was cute, but now he's producing results and the points for you.
I swear 80% of the reason I picked him was because he was cute. I'm not kidding. And 20% of the reason I picked him was because he's a right back, but he's always in the opponent's box. He's literally always there.
He's very aggressive, yeah.
He was bound the goal and he got it last 2 weeks ago. So so cheap and so cute.
And there's 2 more teams I just want to talk about. TK, Tottenham, we already touched upon them. Kane, Son in incredible form. They're going to be playing Man City this week. Man City, man, they've been very unpredictable this season. I think they're missing Aguero a lot. What's the update on him? And do you think someone like a Jesus is a good option, or is it just too unreliable? Would you rather have somebody like a Kevin De Bruyne?
Honestly, the best option for me is not Jesus, the Prophet. Salah. No, I'm just kidding. Also Jesus, Salah, he's also a prophet. Jesus is on good form, actually. He's a really good pick, but I would wait 1 week because he's playing Spurs away, and City, like you said, are like up and down this season.
Yeah, he's not
Looks like
as clinical enough, but there was one finish in the last game where against Liverpool, I think he put it through Alexander-Arnold and finished it. That was really impressive, but he is not as clinical as you would want him to be.
Liverpool played City recently. Oh yeah, he scored in that game.
Yeah.
That feels like a year ago. I don't even remember.
Yeah, this was this game, last game week 8. Yeah.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, then he went and missed an open header, so that was my point. Like,
Yeah, no, that's his problem is that he does miss a lot of chances, but he plays for Man City, which he'll get a lot of chances. In the Champions League, he scored as well. He's on form. Whenever a player like Jesus is on form playing for Man City, he's gonna get so many chances and he'll get the goal. So like he's a really good player to have. But you see, Man City, the next game is Spurs, and then they have Burnley home, and then they have Fulham home. So I would wait 1 week and then definitely bring in Jesus. That's a really good option to have.
What do you think of what do you think of Wolves' assets? Because I think Mustafa had Jimenez for a while and he's been okay, but I think overall Wolves maybe haven't been as good as last year.
Yeah. Wolves, they've been playing well, but of course not as good as last year because they're missing some players. But they're gonna go through a tough patch of fixtures now, as you can see. They have Southampton, Arsenal away, Liverpool away, Villa home, Chelsea home. Look at this, all this, like until game week 7 and until game week 16.
That's tough.
So I would get rid of Wolves for now and get them in 17 when they have easier fixtures coming up. I noticed with Jimenez, he scored 2 goals. Against Newcastle, he scored 1.
Yeah.
And then against Leeds away, he scored another 1. And both those games, he was so lucky to score. Or Wolves were so lucky to get a goal because they had no chances and he got like fluke goals, like a deflection. And then after this game where he scored and I saw how like it was so lucky, I removed him and I brought in I think Vardy. And I just knew that they were gonna not continue their form. And they won the next game, but he didn't do anything. So I was just lucky in that sense. The game after that, they lost to Leicester. So I think Wolves now have tough fixtures, and as good as Jimenez is, you should move on to a team that like Che Adams or someone like even Bamford or someone in that range.
Yeah.
So two questions for you, TK. First is someone who's been like on fire. Everyone's talking about him, Bamford. Do you think he's a sustainable pick for like another 4 or 5 weeks, or do you think it's hype and you've missed the train? And second of all, with Wilfried Zaha, he's been like an underrated star this season. He's done very well. I think he's a top 4, top 5 scoring midfield asset. So just your thoughts on those two going into the next month, I guess.
So with those are good questions. With Bamford, as you can see, Leeds next fixtures, they have an easy one right here.
Easy one.
I'm actually not.
I swear I was gonna actually. That was my next question.
Like fun. Like it's actually like an easy fixture. I don't know why it's 3. It should be green right here. It should be evergreen.
Shout out to Abrar.
But Leeds are so good against the big teams. They want to prove themselves. They're gonna go crazy. They want Arsenal Fan TV to go buzz. So this is gonna be the watch. I'm telling you, Leeds versus Arsenal. So I didn't initially like him because the last 3-4 seasons he's never impressed me. He wasn't that good. He lost. He was with Chelsea and then I think Crystal Palace and he never made it. But I watched the last game, which was Crystal Palace versus Leeds, where they won 4-1 Palace. And he scored 2 goals, and they were both amazing finishes. Only one of them was called offside, even though it should have been a goal. And he looks like a proper striker, like good finishing, good technique. I actually rate him now. So although Leeds have tough games, except Arsenal, he's a good player to have because Leeds always attack, no matter what. Look, they lost 4-1. But he got a goal, and he got 1 bonus point. That's like Jimenez winning 1-0. That's like as good as Jimenez. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and Leeds' creativity. I think you talked about a stat. I forgot the name of that stat, but like where like the teams can actually create chances and get close. uh, it was some stat you were talking about. So I think Leeds have a better percentage in that stat compared to someone like Wolves. Like they create more chances, like scoring opportunities.
Creativity threat or something like that, I think it's called.
Oh, the XG, expected goals.
Yeah. Expected
So
goals.
yeah,
Right.
like you said, Leeds XG is greater than Crystal Palace, and they lost 4-1. Very unlucky. So now moving on to the question about Zaha. I really liked Zaha in the beginning, but the last few games he's been back to his old self, where he's like complains too much, and he like dives and he gets like pissed and gets yellow cards, and he's back to the old Zaha that I remember. Although they won 4-1, people are going to think, oh, nice, Zaha got an assist this game, and he might even, their fixtures are so good. I don't really think he's going to continue it. One, because of the eye test. I didn't feel comfortable watching him. He wasn't going in a lot. Although I might be wrong. He might continue to do well. And the second thing is he's no longer on penalty duties. Like last game, what's his name? Miljovic stood up to take the penalty, but it was not a penalty. They called it off.
Yeah.
So a lot of people didn't see that. So the fact that Miljovic, however the hell you say his name, stood up to go take the penalty, it just put me off. I'm like, oh, Zaha is not the penalty taker anymore. That's a huge disadvantage.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. I didn't know about the penalty thing as well.
Yeah. In terms of Palace, the question, they have easy fixtures, and I think their defense is solid. So someone like Van Aanholt, who goes up a lot and gets assists and goals, I think that's a good pick.
Yeah.
And I'll ask one more question. Sorry.
One more thing about Palace.
Yeah.
Sorry, one more thing about Palace. There's a guy called Eze.
Yeah.
He scored a free kick. I think he scored a free kick and he got an assist. Yeah, this guy Eze. He's really good. Like a lot of people don't know about this guy, but from what I watched, he was killing it in the field. He was getting past players. Should have got 2 assists that game. Scored an amazing free kick. He's like an up and coming guy who is quite unknown and he's very cheap. But if you want someone very differential, you can go for Eze.
That's good to know. Eze. Yeah, you had another question?
Sorry, just on Tottenham, they were like the inform fantasy performing pair of Batman, Robin, Kane, and Son. Do you think that the hype train is still there? Do you think longer term this season is better to just keep Kane and offload Son? Like, what's your opinion? Because if you got them at the right time, you raked in the points. But I heard chatter of maybe Son slowing down a bit, or sitting with staying with Kane more. So what's your opinion?
First of all, you can look at these fixtures.
Wow.
City home, Chelsea away, Arsenal. Oh, that's easy. Crystal Palace away.
Yeah, look, Crystal Palace and Arsenal. Crystal Palace is harder.
Yeah, you see, they put it they're starting to learn. It's close. Liverpool away, Leicester home, Wolves away. I mean, these are not easy fixtures, but I actually think that the home games they will do well. Like City home, Arsenal home, Leicester home, and even Crystal Palace away. I think the only hard games for them will be Chelsea and Liverpool, which is not that much. And we're forgetting that Spurs is a big team this season, and against those teams like City, they've been playing counterattack against everyone, to the point where they played against West Brom, which was such a bad idea. You could have won this game 5-0, but they played counterattack and they got a lucky goal in the last second. So I'm actually excited for them that the fixtures are hard, because I think in the harder fixtures they'll actually Son and Kane will actually return more.
Yeah. If they're fully fit and everything, I think this is the time for Spurs to make a mark. If they really want to challenge for that title, I think this is the fixture list. The next month or so is where they can make a mark if they really want to challenge for the title.
Definitely, that's the same opinion I have. This is the game that shows if they're gonna push for the title or not. So, City home, if they do well, they get goals, and Kane and Son are on the score sheet. They're motivated, then you keep them. In my opinion, you keep them through the tough fixtures because they'll get you returns. But if they don't do well,
yeah, sorry.
I think offload them because they're too expensive to keep.
Yeah, and if they do win, most likely one of them will be on the score sheet or assist sheet, most likely. Yeah. Just a last question before I ask you final about your captaincy picks. I just want to ask you about Arsenal. That was my final thing I want to talk about. There's a lot of people I had Aubameyang in the beginning, but you always told me like don't trust Arsenal assets and everything, and it came out true. But then he scored against United. I didn't put him back in my team, but there are quite a few people who had him and even put him captain as a differential pick. But then they lost to Aston Villa 3-0. So you're not actually joking when you say that don't trust Arsenal assets. You actually mean it, huh?
No, yeah, I was not like I joke about everything to do with Arsenal. When it comes to fantasy, like really, I don't like them because they're so unpredictable. And even when they win, they don't like Aubameyang for 12 million. He's not gonna get you like a hat trick like Salah would. And I didn't own any of the players all season because of that. I don't trust them, and that's what it is.
Yeah. Last question for both you guys. Going into game week 9, we know that Salah is not going to play. There's plenty of other options. Hoping that everyone is the rest of the players are fit. Who is your captaincy pick going into game week 9? Bhaiya, you can go first.
So like last week or the week before, I was a bit cheeky. I thought I would pick Son and get some sort of differential, but he blanked. So I think this time I'll play the safe approach, and I'll bring in Bruno Fernandez for Salah, and I will captain Bruno Fernandez.
You're gonna captain Bruno Fernandez. You're gonna bring him in place of Salah.
It's a logical pick, but it's also like a safe pick at the same time, and it could be a differential versus like Kane and stuff. So yeah, I'll go with Bruno.
Considering the fixtures, that will be a popular consensus. TK, what is your strategy going in? Of course, knowing you might change last minute before the deadline, but like right now,
13:59 local time. TK makes the change.
Actually, the best pick, I agree with Yusuf, is Bruno against West Brom. I mean, it's the pick that's like out there. However, Grealish is actually playing really well.
Yeah,
Stats crazy.
He's a baller.
Home. He's honestly impressive, like the world right now. How good he is. He's a good captaincy shout for this week. Chelsea, Newcastle. Chelsea are playing so good, but their history against Newcastle is so bad, especially in Newcastle Stadium.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things, like a boogie team for them.
Mm-hmm.
And Newcastle has done pretty well this season. They're not bad. Like they've done some good. They've played some decent.
They're very like on and off. So you don't really know if they're gonna do well or not. So yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't have Salah, and I don't. So I can't. It's gonna be hard for me to get Bruno. I can do that straight swap. So if based on my team, I think I'll keep Kane because he's on form. He has motivation. Like when you watch players play, like you know who wants to like go and score. This guy wants to like win. If you watch his documentary, like although you can't understand what he's saying the way he talks, he's so like pumped up. Like I don't know what he's saying, but he just looks so pumped. Like,
he's always determined, especially
And he takes penalties, and his penalties are amazing. So I expect him to get at least one goal against City. Like City's backline is kind of like leaky.
Yeah.
So I think he's my captaincy shout for this week.
I think that's a very good point because City, even in the last few games we've seen, even against Leicester, they ate quite a few goals. Even against Liverpool, they conceded. So there is some issues in the defense. Like we saw Kyle Walker give a penalty, I think, against Liverpool. So yeah, their defense is not the solid. So it is a good option. I feel Kane as well. But yeah. Some really good options. I think a lot of people will go with Werner as well, just because I think not many people knew about. I honestly I wasn't sure about their history about Newcastle, but that you mentioned that, I think that's a really good point. But I still feel people might go with someone like Werner or Ziyech as well, just considering they're playing Newcastle and Chelsea's form overall.
I mean, Chelsea should and probably will win this game. But it's just, it puts me off the history.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, like maybe not many people might know that, but that's very interesting. But the history.
One guy I want to shout out to who's also under the radar, very under the radar. I just watched 2 games in a row. I watched 2 Leicester games in a row. and it was Dennis Pratt. This guy is like he's starting now. Him and Madison behind Vardy,
Yeah.
and he's actually playing so well. Like he puts in so many balls in for Vardy and for other players. They're just not scoring, so he's not getting those assists. But I expect him to come out show up like against Liverpool and like the coming game weeks.
He has
So
potential to get a lot of assists.
yeah, a lot of potential I see.
And you can lastly on Tielemans.
Tielemans plays as a center mid, so if he scores, it's just like once every 5-6 games. So I wouldn't consider it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that wraps up quite a bit. We discussed a lot. Really good points there. Do you guys have any of you guys have any last points going into game week 9?
I just wanted to ask another question. Do you think it's worth having any more Leeds assets apart from Bamford, or no, Bamford should be your only pick? Is there anyone who's worth it to put into your team? Because considering how aggressive they're, because I see some people have Costa in their team as well. So.
No, I don't like the Costa pick. I think he's very he doesn't always start. He's on and off. I think the only other player that I would take from Leeds, although I'm sticking to just Bamford. If it's just that's the question, I'll just say just Bamford.
Okay, that's fine.
There's Ayling, the right back.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if you noticed Leeds. They all have the bun.
The man bun?
Yeah.
The man bun,
The man bun, yeah.
Next time you watch them, see they all have man buns. I don't know
Yeah,
what that's about, but he's one of those man bun guys. He gets assists and he gets up a lot. So he's a good right. He's attacking right back.
Yeah.
That's it from me.
That's it. TK, any more points?
Not for Arsenal.
I think that wraps up quite a bit. I think a lot of people are looking at Arsenal defenders after that United game, but that Aston Villa game has probably changed everyone's thoughts again. It's going to be a very interesting game week. We've seen this whole season that so many upsets, different kind of results, goals, plenty of goals here and there as well. So it'll be really interesting to see how it goes. Hopefully there's no more injuries or any COVID cases going into this game week. But I think, that wraps up this week's episode. Thank you guys for joining me, and I hope to see you next week. And best of luck, man, with this week.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Take care.